thing.
Podcasting happening in 3, 2, 1. This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
Hello, everyone. My name is Greg Gizmozord Parker, and you are listening to Lords of the Storm, episode 136, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multi-Zord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader, or as we can now refer to him as, thanks to John, Bo, and Scott, Ryan Twin Blades Kappa Zord Reader. And
I'm gonna kill him.
On this week's episode, it's another one of those shows. Just hold on. There's a lot to talk about. We got more BlizzCon stuff. We got the goodies.
No.
We got gear.
No.
We got
There's only like 4 pages of notes.
We got balance
No,
notes. We got patch notes. We got or PTR notes. We got new heroes. We got all the stuff. All the stuffs to talk about. So we're just gonna hop into it. But before we get into that, Multi, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty well. How about yourself?
I am doing all right. I'm going to say it one time. Almost fell into it again.
Sounds good.
All right.
There we go. TBK, how are you doing?
Good.
I'm doing wonderful. It's cooling off here in Kansas City, which is really nice. I enjoy the colder weather. I enjoy fall. I actually have a mug of hot chocolate with me, and it's good.
Nice. Yeah, there was a lot of hot tea served at my restaurant today. All the hot tea. No hot cocoa, though. It's getting to the point where it's almost the coldest weather I've been in for almost 2 years, which is crazy
That's true.
to think about.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, I was in the 40s.
yeah, not quite
That is
there
true.
yet. So
I don't like it. I hate the cold.
it's nice
I don't
for now.
understand people who like cold.
The first couple days where it gets cold, I like because it's like, oh, it's finally here. I sleep well at night. I hate getting out of bed in the morning. But after a couple weeks of it, I'm gonna get real sick of it.
Well, the thing is, I think of it this way. It's one of the old adages: would you rather be hot or cold? And I would pick cold
Neither.
over hot every time.
What?
If you're forced in one, so with hot, you can only take so much off
I've heard
before
this
there's
argument
nothing else
before.
to take off. But when it's cold, you can continually put things on to get warm.
I've heard this argument before, but I feel like the people who make it don't understand how water works. Just go to a water park or an ocean.
But then you got
Or cool
sunburns.
off.
And
Yeah.
see, I don't know because I would say the heat, but I sweat a lot, so the summer is pretty
yes.
brutal on me. So I don't know.
Fair
But
enough. I feel like we could argue this out to the end of time.
it's true. It's
This
an endless
is
argument.
the episode tonight, guys. Would you rather be hot or cold?
And then after this, we're going to duel as KT versus KT. Oh, one of them's not KT. It's Kael'thas.
We're gonna
But he would represent heat.
Yeah. I'm going to, at some point in the show tonight, I'm going to tweet out a poll that's just from the Lords of the Storm Twitter. Would you rather be hot or cold? And we'll see by the end
Simple
of the
as
show.
I'm going to win.
So what have you all been up to in gaming this last week, TBK?
Team League and streaming a little bit. It was actually a really good streaming night on Monday. Went 4-1. Bo joined me to play a few games. Got to play some heroes I hadn't played in a while. So I've been messing around with Sonya a lot lately. And let me tell you, and I may have said this a week or two ago, but I was a fool. I'm going to say it again because it's still true. I was a fool not to have played Sonya. She is so much fun. And I don't know what it is, but she just clicked. She clicked with me, and I love it. And she's so much fun. I found 1 or 2 builds I really like to go. She's just super tanky, and she can bring on some damage too. She's got some good mobility, some great wave clear, great merc clear. It's good. She's awesome.
It is.
I don't know why we don't see her more.
Well, and it's not like we're just now getting to this point in game. It's happened for a little bit, but to where we have enough heroes to where we go back to somebody. Like for me, it was Varian and Kael'thas most recently, where it's like I didn't realize I hadn't played them in forever, and then I go back and I'm like, why haven't I been playing them? Do you remember the days of when it's like you just play every like hero and there's like no surprises?
Oh yeah,
I know every single hero.
I used to play everything almost equally. You just can't do that anymore.
No, it's impossible.
Can't.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
If you did that, that would be playing one hero 73 times in a week, 10 games a day to do that. Even more than that. That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. That'd be a lot of games.
Multi, how about you? What have you been up to in gaming?
I've been playing a little bit of Heroes when I can, Hearthstone otherwise for sure. And actually in both games, I am kind of trying to diversify, jump into Heroes I haven't been to in a little while, play just random Hearthstone decks that seem interesting, maybe some tier 2 stuff just to try it out, throw in some cards, take out some other cards, that sort of thing. So I've just been, taking it pretty casual in both games for sure, because I've got a lot going on outside of gaming for sure these days. Prepping for that baby to come pretty soon here, but it's been good. I've been coming back to some of the supports that I left behind. Ariel, for some reason, is one that I never really gave a full shake, even to this day. So, but she's fun. And I mean, we see her all over the place in HGC, even now, double support and maybe not as commonly single, but so it's been fun. I've been hanging out, having a good time. Not really trying too hard on the ladder yet or anything, but we'll see.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, myself, in Heroes, it has been Junkrat for me this last week. Just getting used to him. And we'll talk more about him later, but I think he's a super fun character to play. It'll be interesting to see kind of where he lands. But
did you play him in quick match yet, or
no? I'm not.
Okay.
I don't have the time to sit down and sit through one of those queues still.
Queue.
And you mean that literally where he lands, because he lands all over the place.
That's right.
I will tell you, I thought Garrosh using Wrecking Ball to somebody back to the towers to kill them was fun. No. A Junkrat mine blowing somebody back to your towers is even more fun. And I did it 3 times in a row. Granted, it was AI, but you know what? The AI is better now.
It should know better, right?
Yes. Yeah. But I will admit,
super good.
So this past month, my gaming time has been limited in general, but PC time even more so, because I've been playing with some of the other Zords that aren't as much into PC stuff with Destiny. I've talked about that. So I've been spending a little time with them still while they still have me, because once October 25th, 26th comes around, then it's just straight back to the PC for me. I'll be coming home sweet home. So
good.
They got
That's
a little bit of time left.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and get into all the goodies here. TBK, what do we got going on in the store sales?
We have Ariel and Chromie on for gem sales, as well as the Twilight Archangel Ariel, the Fell Queen Chromie, the Shadow Council Gul'dan, Merciful Lieutenant Morales, because apparently the other ones aren't merciful, I guess. Mm-hmm. Stormbot Kael'thas, awesome skin. Neo Star Queen Li Ming, High Elf Tyrande, and probably my favorite skin in the game, Lil Ragnaros.
Where's our little KT at?
Pretty good skin.
Where's little KT?
Where's
little
he
KT?
I don't know.
Lil KT. Anytime I see this, I always think Parks and Recs. Lil Sebastian. Lil. He was
the
Lil.
best character on that show, other than what was the dog's name? Champ, the 3-legged
Champion.
dog?
Yep.
Champion. Yeah.
Yeah, Lil Ragnaros. If you don't have him and you play Ragnaros, do yourself a favor and pick him up. He's amazing. The Platinum Materials Charger, which I missed in getting in WoW. Let's not talk about that, though. That's just bad memories. And Butcher's Beast, all on gem sales this week.
Mm-hmm. The High Elf Tyrande was one of my favorite skins until the Superhero Tyrande skin came out. Now that's better, but it's a good Tyrande skin if you guys like that Tyrande. multi-free hero rotation. What do we got going there?
Oh, let's see here. So we've got some fairly interesting ones. Some ones I haven't played in a long time. Actually, a lot of these are not my common heroes. But let's see. I guess of the heroes, I probably have delved into Lunar the most. That's become one of my favorites even of late. But for some reason, a lot of these I just didn't stick with. There's Lily, one of your old favorites there, Gizmo.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we saw some play with her in the Crucible, so
Yes, we
kind of
did.
interesting. Then we got, let's see, Cassia. I don't know why, but I never gave her a full shake. And Artanis, Sinatra backwards is sweet. But again, if I go with a bruiser, I'm typically going with other heroes. I don't know why. ETC, I guess I've had my day in the sun with. Kael'thas sometimes as well. Karazim for sure. But then there's like the Butcher, which I don't know why, guys. Never was my thing. Tyrael, though, I guess I played some Tyrael in my time. Zagara as well. And then we got the level 5 is Zarya. 10 is Varian, which I've messed around with some Varian in my time. Twin Blades for life, right, TBK?
Yep.
No Kappa. Did you see me smile? Or
did you see him stutter?
No.
Yeah.
But I would have to stutter a little if I was serious about playing Probius, who's in the 15 slot. But then level 20, this would be most people's chance to try him out for the first time, maybe. Kel'Thuzad at the top there.
Yes, good old KT.
The real KT.
And you guys need to give Probius a chance, all right?
Can't do it.
Yeah, it's hard.
Can't do it.
He's cute, but it's hard. All right.
It's literally like one of the coolest looking characters in the game from just an art animation perspective.
Oh,
but I
easy.
just cannot stand his kit. I just can't do it.
Yeah. It's not for everyone, and it's not for me either, so I'm with you.
But you
That's
know
all.
what? He is cool enough and cute enough to be on the BlizzCon concept art this year. So
He is that.
he's
And
got
he's
that,
earned that,
going
sure.
for him.
I don't mind that. I don't mind
No,
that.
not at all.
Yeah.
I like him. Don't get me wrong. It's just, not my play style. That's all.
It's fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and hop on into the news. First up on the news docket, this just in. Wrinkle some paper. Not just in. This is not new. It's new for this show. The BlizzCon gear store is up and good to go. Well, I say good to go. It wasn't working for me earlier, which is probably a good thing because I would have spent more money than I should, which I'll still probably do as soon as
still
it's
gonna
working for me.
happen. Yep.
But yes, all the BlizzCon stuff is good to go on there. There are some amazing hero stuff. All the HGC finals hats, shirts, hoodies that they have, as well as just I love the heroes hat that they have. Cool water bottles. All cool
And
things.
honestly, if I'm not wrong, this is the first HGC gear that has been publicly purchasable.
I think so.
I believe so as well. And to be honest, okay, I've got a couple beefs with this, but I kind of wish it didn't say finals on there, like just straight up HGC, because, I mean, yes, I will very happily watch the finals, but I'm not going to be there. So it kind of has a like bittersweet feeling for me. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
know
can
I
see
can
that.
get the championship pin. That's just straight HGC, but
I hope we see some more HGC specific gear this next year.
yeah, that'd be
As
cool.
they ramp HGC up quite a bit. I'm hoping they'll merchandise it a little bit more. Cuz if you want Overwatch gear, you're going to be really happy with this BlizzCon gear sale because there is a crap load.
That
of Overwatch
ugly
stuff.
Christmas sweater.
Yes.
I actually texted Tank Zord from the Cavalry as soon as I saw it, and I was like, dude, if you don't get this sweater, I don't even know what to tell you. We
Yeah.
won't talk anymore.
So remember, you have to have either bought a BlizzCon ticket or bought a virtual pass to have access to the online store.
For right now.
Yeah, and for usually there's a sale after the fact where they liquidate like the rest of the merchandise that doesn't get sold, and that's like open to everybody.
They actually are opening it to everybody on 10/17 this time.
Oh, you're right. This is an
users will have
all-user access.
10/17. So
yeah.
no, it's not all users.
I mean, you
right
should
now.
get a virtual pass
Tuesday.
probably, just so you can experience all the cool stuff at BlizzCon if you're not going. But Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's a nice little perk this year,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You just sparked an idea whenever you were talking about wanting more just general HGC stuff. I don't know. I don't think any other esports do this. Generally, like team organizations sell their own gear. Like you can get their own jerseys or whatnot, but there's nothing specific. It would be amazing to see. It would be awesome if Heroes did it, but just in general, say for instance, Blizzard selling on their website an HGC shirt with team logos on them that you could buy.
Agreed.
Like, this team, it's HGC shirt, and maybe like a portion of that go to the team as well. Just
Sure.
more ways to raise
More
some
revenue
money.
sharing option. I would think with those type of things, especially as it's getting more stable. HGC has made things a lot more stable, but I would almost say that should put some, or Blizzard would probably have some stipulations
Yes.
around that. Like your organization needs to have been involved in HGC for a year.
Right.
At least to know that you're committed to that. Now you have, you had cheers. Now check the box. You have a merchandising option.
Yep.
And you can sell shirts
Yeah.
and hats, and
That'd
you
be
get a
cool.
portion of those proceeds too. And there's just more ways for Blizzard and the orgs to make money and
And more
fans to
incentive
actually
to
get some
stick
cool
around.
gear.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be,
As an org, that is. So
it'd be dope.
yeah.
I'd totally do it. Multi, you were correct on this. Last week you had posted the social feature stuff that came out, and we were talking about the panels at BlizzCon, and you said, you think we'll see this before BlizzCon? And I said, no, they're going to talk about it at BlizzCon. It's going to be at BlizzCon. The next day, lo and behold, you were right. It's live. So,
Well, it's
At
in
least the beta.
The beta.
Yeah, the beta client.
so
Yeah. So I think my reasoning still stands on this one. I've heard a couple other sources say like, "Oh, why didn't they save this for BlizzCon?" Yeah, it would have been a good BlizzCon thing to discuss, but I honestly still think this is setting the stage for Destiny coming out more than anything. So,
no.
but yeah, it's good to see. It's got the groups as we alluded to. There actually is a Lords of the Storm group. We'll get to that in a second. But beyond that, it finally, after what was it, 5 years, has that appear offline mode as well too, where you can set your status to appear as offline, where people can't see you quite so easily. So
Yeah. And
I haven't done it
apparently-
yet.
Apparently,
I'm
it
glad it's
doesn't
there.
work like you would think. So we were talking about it last time on Convert Trade. Sharku said you can appear offline to where you're not offline, but if you're like playing WoW, for instance, and then you have a friend that's also playing WoW, you're showing up in game still. So I don't know.
like to your guild or to each other, like
He said he could see
standing
his
around in
friends
game?
if they were like if he was on WoW and they were on WoW still, but if it was just like in the BattleNet thing, they were appearing offline. So
Gotcha.
who knows? Maybe that's why it's in beta.
WoW, it kind of makes sense though, because you've got the guild system, and I mean you also just have the physical world. I don't know how often you run into people, but
Yeah.
I mean I did transfer to the Thist server, and I did run into her on Argus once, so I guess it's possible. I think she was following me, but whatever. Maybe I was following her. I don't
knows?
know. I can't even keep
Who
track.
knows? One thing worth mentioning, again, this is the beta, so if you are wanting to join our group, you do have to go to your Blizzard app or Battle.net launcher. I don't remember if they switched back to it. Whatever. The settings, enable the beta access, and then there's a social tab up top where it has the game shop social. Click that, and there's a way to create a group or join a group from there. And just hop in. Got some cool icons. I got a cool
So how do you join the
Hearthstone
Lords of
frog.
the Storm group?
So it was tweeted out on our Twitter at Lords of the Storm, and there's also a pinned link in our Discord, which you can also find on our Twitter, the invite for that. And it's just pinned in the little pin messages in the general channel.
Yeah, and if you
That's
fact,
the
you have
easiest
to-
way to do it right now, I guess.
if you
Yeah,
yeah,
It's actually a link you
Yeah.
have to put in.
because if you click the link, it's just going to take you to the website to download the Battle.net client. You just have to copy the link, then in the app, click like the join group, and then you'll paste it. So it's not as intuitive as it hopefully will be when it goes live. But it's
Yeah,
there.
I'm sure they'll improve on that, because that's one really nice thing about Discord is just clicking links, accepting it, and calling it good. So
Yep.
I can't see why they wouldn't be able to squeeze that out somehow, figure it out.
Also, here we have more Twitch Prime loot that I believe went live yesterday. And so you got another thing, if you have Twitch Prime, link your account there, and you'll get 5 standard loot chests, and that's going through November 10th. So make sure to grab those while you can. As well,
Also, potential tip, and I don't know if this is going to work or not
for the event.
but for the event, wait to claim it. And I didn't do this, but wait to claim it until the Halloween event goes live. Because as we'll talk about before, all loot chests are from anything you do normally in game are going to be turning into special Halloween specific loot boxes. And so the idea would be if you claim them after that date, you would get 5 Halloween specific loot boxes instead of 5 regulars. That's not confirmed though. It may just be that these are hard coded 5 regular loot boxes. And
I'm
that's what
guessing
you get
that.
whenever.
I'm
But
guessing
we don't
that
know.
because it literally
won't hurt
says
to wait.
get 5 standard loot chests, not
Yeah.
Halloween loot chests, etc. My money's on them just staying standard.
Or maybe that was going to happen and they hadn't thought about it, but now they're hearing it and we just ruined it for everyone.
Oh,
I was doing it.
So someone will have to, who hasn't claimed them, will have to let us know
Yeah.
once the event goes live if it is just 5 regular still, or if they did turn into.
I will wait. I have not claimed them, so
Yes.
I'll wait.
Okay, cool.
But
Yeah.
plus, it's worth doing that in the first place. I guess it's worth mentioning now. For this event, Loot Chest will now guarantee an event related item.
Thank
So-
goodness.
It's worth mentioning there. Just another reason to
really
save those
talk-
up.
We haven't really talked about the event yet.
Not yet, but
Okay.
you know, it's
Ruining
it was
things,
there.
Greg.
It was there, so I took it and I went with it. We also have the virtual ticket items. In-game items have officially been revealed. There's lots of cool stuff for Heroes of the Storm. We're getting a Nexus Razorback mount, banner, Razorback spray, and a portrait. So cool stuff there.
They've just gone with the boar theme.
Board
Yep.
theme.
I don't know why, but it looks pretty cool.
Is there a reason? Like, is there something we should
It's a
pick
Roadhog.
up
don't
from
know.
this?
We have Junkrat, and it's a Roadhog.
That could work.
I don't know.
I was going to say it is a little weird to have Junkrat in the game and not Roadhog. Like,
The mount looks
they're
awesome.
they're a duo. Yes, this mount looks awesome though.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think better than both the Nexus Steed. I don't remember what they called it, and the Nexus Beast, Battle Beast.
Battle. Yep.
So, getting better. All right. So now the event that if you save your Twitch Prime loot thing for, that could possibly get them to then be guaranteed an event item in that box, potentially, maybe. We'll now talk about that event that you could potentially get that in. So that event is these Hallows End is coming back. There's another in development video for it. This is going to be kicking off on Tuesday, October 17th, going through November 14th. There are event quests, of course, that we've been getting here. It's going to be part 1, play 2 games. You'll get the cartoon Headless Horseman spray. Part 2, play 8 games, and you'll get the Hallows End Warcrest banner. And then part 3, play 15 games. You will get the Headless Horseman portrait. And the Hallows End loot chests look awesome.
So
They really
They look
do.
really, really good.
They really do.
the chests themselves, absolutely cool.
Yes. But some of the skins that we're getting here, first and foremost, the Greymane skin. It's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He turns into a werewolf wearing a lab coat and some cool steampunk goggles looking dude. Amazing skin. I will be picking that up if I don't get it in a chest almost immediately. My runner-up is going to the ghost horse skin. So
Oh yes.
one of the
Which
things,
one though?
Obviously, okay, so it's a horse that has a sheet just over it, like it's dressed up like a ghost. But there's one, it's a horse with a sheet over it, with a horse painted on it.
Yep.
It's pretty
That's
amazing.
the best one.
It's genius.
But they
Pretty
got like
amazing.
picnic blankets, all sorts of weird stuff. One of the things they've done with this event, it seems, and I've seen some talk of people thinking like, oh, it doesn't seem like Blizzard put a whole lot of work into this. Seems kind of lazy to me. I don't really think that's the case because obviously, look at the Greymane skin. It's amazing. We get a really detailed, why can't I think of her name? Rogue lady.
Valera?
Valera. skin that looks amazing. But we just got a ton of skins this go around. And with the new, collection system and the way the shop works now, it's easy for them to do little stuff. So we have a Brightwing skin that just has a little witch hat with pigtails on it.
First Brightwing skin in
is that since
probably
Monkey?
a year and a half.
Is that
it's the
since the
first one
Monkey?
since the Monkey.
I think so.
Wow.
And to address this one specifically, so I mean, Brightwing is one that people are complaining was quote unquote lazy and that they just put pigtails and a witch's hat on her. But I'm telling you guys, I am so thrilled with this skin. Like, I love it.
It's really good.
I need this thing.
Yeah.
And as
I
far as
love
we
that it's
know,
just a hat thrown on her.
that was super hard.
To do?
Yeah, I mean, they've talked about
this
the
is
issues.
still the old Brightwing model.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And last BlizzCon, Phil, in the interview I did with him, actually said that he has to kill an artist basically whenever they want to do a new Brightwing skin
just
Yeah.
because
So,
of how the model works out.
because of
Yeah.
how it's rigged or how it was originally made. I still, please Blizzard, another plea, Brightwing 2.0, just please release that model as another model and start doing skins off of that model too.
Yeah.
Please. We'd love it. All the old Hallows Eve skins are coming back
Right.
in both, it sounded like in a gem bundle, and they'll probably be craftable, I would assume, for the duration of the event as well, which is really cool. We're getting a sweet new Gazlo one
Yes.
that has a bag over his robot's head, which is amazing, and some candy stuff. A very creepy Murky skin where it's Murky's body, but a Garden of Terror eyeball.
It really
So,
is creepy, though.
It's
Like,
super creepy.
I like
yeah.
that they kept it heroes themed, but also Halloween-y and definitely creepy. So it was very cool.
Yeah. And there's, Pumpkin Cho'Gall and then Creepy Chromie. I don't remember the Creepy Chromie one. I think she just had like a mask on, didn't she?
She's got
Some
like a skull mask.
Yeah,
on.
skull mask.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So I like that they're able to do that. Just throw those in there. It's nice. It's a nice touch. But again, that event is the 17th going through November 14th. And it's nice that they made the quest a little easier to do this time, as far as, you're not having to get kills as somebody or with somebody on your team. I think part of that is to do with the fact that a lot of people is going to be involved at BlizzCon for
True.
a solid half a week to a week. So it's a little easier to get those done here. But yes, that did have the new in development video. If you haven't seen that, check it out. The Junkrat and the alternate skin is incredible. I kind of thought they were going to do the Junkenstein skin, since it's kind of
Ooh, that would've
Halloween
been
themed
cool.
as well. But I think I actually like this skin better. But maybe we'll get the Junkenstein skin.
demon skin?
In there. Yeah, eventually.
It really is pretty cool.
It's a nice one.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Tank criteria. So Matthew Villar has gone to the forums, brave soul he is, and discussed kind of what tanking...
Did you just call him Villar?
Matt Villars. Villar. Matt Villar.
Matt V.
Villars. I even, I don't know.
Greg never changed.
Never change. I'll never pronounce anybody's name that actually works at Blizzard correct on this show.
Or
But-
Zarya, either.
Yeah, where's the rat? I've gotten better at that one, but now that you said that, it's going to be put right back into my head. Anyways, he went to the forums to kind of respond to some tanking discussions about what makes a tank when it comes to warriors. And he kind of went through the changes of what they used to classify as a tank to what it is now. So prior, when they were making warriors, in order for them to fit into a tanking role, they wanted them to be hard to kill and do things that are sufficiently disruptive so that you can't simply ignore them. Okay, and that was pretty apparent when the game first launched, and it worked at that point, but the game has evolved, and which is why I think we have some of the warrior issues that we do today. And there's, reworks and stuff happening, but when they're making new warriors now, they have kind of come up with another list that they're trying to keep in mind if they're making a warrior and they want that warrior to be able to be considered a tank. And while this isn't like a, 100% this is everything that they want list, just kind of a comprehensive list that they came with is durability and mitigation. So again, they're not easy to kill. Self-sustain, so they can stay in the fight. Peel, so they can protect vulnerable allies, and then Interrupt, so they can disrupt cast and channeled abilities, which I think is pretty good. And again, with the way that the game and the meta has changed, it just gets more complex. So obviously, tanks need to change.
This kind of leads into the whole discussion, and this is something that, and we'll be talking a lot more about this in 2 weeks when we have our BlizzCon speculation episode. But this is one of the things that I am personally expecting at BlizzCon as one of the big reveals is new role changes and new role adaptations and whatnot. They've been talking about it for a really long time, like a good year. They've been talking about that potentially happening or it changing or whatever. And it's probably not a small thing either, breaking all these down into the sub roles and then classifying each character. But it makes a lot of sense to me that they're on the cusp of doing stuff like this because Alan, again, I'm going to reference Gamescom, talked about matchmaking changes coming. And it seems to me that and new roles kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because you're going to really have to make a fundamental change to the matchmaking system when you introduce something like an extra 5 or 7 different sub roles or whatever of each of these things to allow them to place characters more specifically, and then allow the matchmaker to accurately make a team based upon this more specific set of criteria. So it's a little early for guessing, but that just kind of speaks to me more that those two things are going to go hand in hand, and there's a good chance will come at BlizzCon.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is a big undertaking because they've been talking about, reclassifying for close to a year, if not a year. I don't remember if they had mentioned that they were wanting to do it before last year's BlizzCon or if it was shortly after. So big undertaking. And I really do think that will help out with matchmaking a lot because as we've seen in our Discord and on Twitter still, quick match is just not the best place to be if you're wanting to work on your game or in competition viable comps. It can be a rough place.
At the same time, if they come out with more roles like this, I don't want them to limit their hero design to just having people that are just vanilla bruiser, vanilla tank, that sort of thing. Having a mix of the two just makes for interesting hero diversity to me. They cite actually in this post, Matt is talking about Sonya. If you think about Sonya, you think she'd be a really good tank because she's got a couple stuns, good gap closer. But the point that Matt points out is that she's just not as good at peeling for vulnerable heroes in the back line and that sort of thing. And so to me, she's kind of one of those in between, but the meta and just her build and over time, she's become more of that self-sustaining bruiser instead. I want to specifically talk about Peel, though, in this post because I love that that's something they're considering, frankly, because it's not something I think a lot of even tank players consider.
Yeah.
If you look down to the post right underneath Matt's here, Quiet Onsets, this guy that posted, I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to leave games because I can't get one person to peel for me as a support like Morales or Ana. It's kind of true. Like, I think a good tank is often measured by how well they can peel away certain threats and that sort of thing. So I love that specifically is one of the considerations here.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see how it's developed over time for them.
And this person also did make a good point, I think is worth mentioning here. Just because I think I've experienced it, and it's not something you don't really think about if you're not a tank. You don't have to be the tank player to peel for somebody.
Also true.
You can just body block for somebody if you're in that situation, to help your supports out. Because it's a tough life out there for supports, especially in solo queue. So do what you can to save them. All right. Now it comes to the time for some patch notes. We have lots of patch notes. That's actually going to lead into another discussion containing patch notes. But
should we breeze through some of these? So
buckle,
patch notes,
yeah.
Oh, there will be breezing.
Buckle up, and TBK. Yeah, I'm going to hand you the reins here because this will lead into the other discussion. Actually,
Did you just
Okay.
rev up?
I did just rev up.
I'm
Horses
excited now.
don't
Go on.
rev. I handed you reins. I didn't hand you the keys to my Ferrari. Gosh.
You're gonna have to neigh now.
Maybe you
That's all
should
there
have
is to
given me
it.
the Ferrari. That's how many patch notes we've got.
I don't have a
Yeah,
Ferrari
true.
for anyone who
Okay.
might think that's true. It's not.
So these balance patch notes were included in the PTR notes that came out a little earlier this week, and then a chunk of them went live as of today. So we have small, tiny little Genji thing, little Genji nerf on his level 20, Dragon Blade Ultimate. The Kel'Thuzad stuff is kind of interesting because it looks like they're buffing some of his underpick stuff, like Frost Blast is getting its cooldown reduced to 70 seconds from 80. The mana cost is getting reduced a little bit. The Strip Shields talent at level 4, the shield amount gets increased. The Icy Grasp, Chain Link, refund mana, increased slow duration. So it's basically bringing up some very underused talents. So just a little bit of balance. Lunara gets a quality of life. Her Wisp, the move cooldown for moving it around was reduced from 5 to 1 second. So quality of life, and it now takes 2 attacks to kill it instead of 1.
I think that's a huge buff.
It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
If you remember to use her Wisp.
I also feel like that's the most changes she's gotten in a super long
It's
time.
true.
She
were
is
talking
never in
about
patch
this.
notes ever.
We were talking about this on
But
Monday.
she's in a good spot.
Yeah, she hasn't been touched, and she's fine.
Yeah.
She's a really good hero.
She's fine. Like, it's really funny in a world where they seem to be touching, and we'll talk about this as soon as we hit the PTR notes, where they seem to be touching a lot of heroes that in some ways feel like maybe they really didn't need to be touched. Lunara has escaped all of that, and she's just been good.
It's that extra run speed, you know? She's just that much harder to touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Malthael did get a little nerf again. His Reaper's Mark trait, the damage was reduced from 2.25 to 2% of enemy hero max health.
He's fine.
So they've
still.
just been... It's,
Yeah, right.
anything that slowly ticks your health down percentage-wise and ignores armor is good.
Yeah.
Abathur got a small buff to his Spike Burst, and he got a nerf, finally, actually. It's been like this for a long time, to his Ultimate Evolution, getting a 20-second cooldown increase on the Ultimate from 50 to 70 seconds.
I feel like that's okay because you're still kind
It
of
is.
saving it for crucial moments, group fights, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be noticeable, but I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Nazebo is really interesting. He
Yes.
got some stat shifts, I would say. His health was reduced. His health regen was reduced. But they increased his voodoo ritual health per stack from 4 to 6. So they built that kind of back into his trait a little bit to, I assume, give a little overall smoother scaling. Corpse Spiders got the damage increased by 1. Plague of Toads got the damage reduced from 20 to 18. Ravenous Spirit got an extra cast range, which is actually pretty nice because the whole thing about Ravenous Spirit is being in a position to where it can't get interrupted because you are completely vulnerable while this thing is going off. So it just brings it up with Gargantuan a little bit, allows you a little more freedom to do it. Superstition, which is really interesting, got new functionality, and this is the one where you used to take it would give you a ton of like ability armor or spell armor,
Yes.
but make you take a lot more damage from auto attacks. Now it gives you that 40 spell armor, but basic attacks from enemy heroes remove the bonus for 3 seconds instead of you just being straight more susceptible. So it basically is more counterplay, right? Good positioning on Nazebo will be rewarded with you taking less damage from the Chromie or the mage that is shooting at you, but you try and get front line and stuff, you're going to lose that bonus. So that's kind of interesting. They also changed the spider colony functionality, which is basically one of the core things of the spider build at level 16, where the higher health you have reduces the cooldown time of your spiders. Now, every time a spider attacks an enemy hero, it's going to reduce the cooldown of your wall of zombies and plague of toads by 0.25 seconds.
Yeah.
And So that's why they built a little bit more power back into the spiders as a baseline.
So I just want to talk about this for a second. As a Nazeebo player, and granted, I haven't been playing him much because I've been going back into older heroes. So I'm interested on you because I know there's other Nazeebo players out there who play him in Hero League because he is very powerful in Hero League. So when it comes to his traits, I see why they did this. They wanted Voodoo Ritual to feel more rewarding throughout the game when you get those stacks. Because right now, everyone was just like, I only need these stacks for level 20 for that quest. And so at this point, it kind of feels like you're getting progress as you're leveling up throughout the game. The one thing I don't like about it is, as a Nazeebo player, while it was nice to get that level 20, and I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for saying this, I really, if I got it, cool. If not, I wasn't worried about it because he had other things that made him really strong. Sure. So this makes me worry a little bit that it's going to cause people to want to split push more than they should, because you already had people doing that because they were worried about stacks and not joining team fights when they should. But now they have to do it to get health. So it puts a little bit more weight on that. And the spider colony is going to be a super interesting thing because, like TBK said, that was one of his power spikes, is just spiders all over the place. So, yeah, it's going to hurt his damage. But if you're getting the cooldown of Zombie Wall and Plague of Toads, that's still a lot of utility for your team.
It's a lot of ability spam. Yeah, still.
Yeah, I think it's good. It moves him back kind of more towards specialist instead of the assassin that he was. Because now, instead of, spiders all over the place, you getting the kills, you can still get some spiders, but now you have more crowd control and the AoE damage to set up kills for your team. So it's going to be interesting, but I think he's going to be all right. And I'm still an Ice Block guy, so Superstition's cool, but I like Ice Block.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Next up, we have our favorite probe, who actually is getting some of his old nerfs reverted in a lot of ways. His pylon's getting a little more health. The Gather Minerals talent at level 1 is getting a 10% damage bonus increase. And then the big one that got nerfed several times, his shield battery at 13. The shield duration after leaving pylon field was reduced from 4 to 2 seconds, but the shield amount was increased from 12 to 14. So
just balance it out a little.
Yeah, balancing it out a little bit. It's interesting. I never see Probius anyways.
You really don't.
No.
Unless it's 5v5 Probius.
Yeah.
Right.
His popularity, and I haven't looked at it lately, but it must be super low. Because I play a decent amount, but I never see him in any sort of draft type mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I see him one in 50 games in quick match.
If that.
Yeah, if that. So, I'm sure Blizzard has stats that completely contradict us, but it definitely feels like that, at least. Zagara actually got her max health reduced a little bit, her health regen reduced, and as a consolation prize, though, her Devouring Maw now is an 80-second cooldown instead of a 100-second cooldown.
I feel like I'll take that. That's a trade I'll take.
It's a nice trade.
Yeah.
Ana got a few changes, and interestingly enough, Blizzard seems fairly happy with her because these are very, very light changes for a brand new hero, at least compared to some of the heroes like
That's true.
KT that have come out recently. Her basic attack damage was increased from 30 to 33, and her level 4 overdose talent is adjusted. So normally, if I recall right, it puts on doses. It used to put on 2 doses from a grenade or a sleep dart hit.
Yeah, I think
now it doesn't apply doses with your grenade. It instead applies 3 doses with sleep dart.
Yeah.
Just an interesting difference.
I assume it was to keep. She's got a talent, I believe it's 7, that reduces the ability power by 15% per dose.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that comboed with overdose, where you can apply doses with your auto attack plus your grenade plus your sleep dart, is an incredibly potent thing, especially with that talent to reduce ability power. Because you're literally talking 75% ability power reduction with full overdose stacks with that. It's absolutely insane how much damage she can reduce. And there's really not a good indicator of it, to be honest, when she's got it. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, and I'm forgetting from last week, level 1 piercing darts, does that affect sleep dart as well, where sleep dart then pierces too? Or does it just sort of, okay.
Yep.
So that
Sleep
almost
darts
makes
piercing is actually first.
Yeah.
I think it's like 20 hits or 10 hits or 15 hits or something like that for sleep dart pierce, and then healing dart pierce comes after that.
Yeah, I feel like the level
Right.
1 talents the other two are going to need tweaking now, because that makes piercing darts even more important.
Yeah.
It does,
Take that
but at the
talent.
same time, like if you're using the sleep dart, you're not typically doing it to apply doses. Like you may as well just land your auto attacks at that point. Like to me, if I'm throwing out a sleep dart, it's to actually set up either a kill or use it as an escape, etc. I mean, yeah, okay, I get more doses out of this, but I mean that's not really the reason I'm using it for me. So
Well, it's one of the reasons once you get to that level 16 talent,
yeah,
by having
yeah.
more doses out. So I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how she evolves from a balance perspective. And then we get to some sadness. Unfortunately, this balance patch hit our supports kind of hard
Which is
in a lot of
interesting.
ways.
And
It is interesting, especially with Ana coming out and being basically a a double support. Just kind of like hey, look, it's Ana. She's for a double support team.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
it's like we don't want to be in the double support meta anymore. Let's move away from that. Yet we're going to nerf all of our supports, so it makes having two
And then
supports
come
even more
out,
important.
yeah, and then come out with a support that is a very hard solo healer, if not impossible. So
That's okay. They've said in the past we're really watching mobility creep, and then they release Diva, so you know it happens.
And then
it
Junkrat.
happens.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
Junkrat.
He can
Do we
move
even
around
talk
a
about
little
Junkrat
bit.
much?
Oh, he's coming.
He is
he's
coming.
We haven't even hit the PTR yet.
Nope.
Oh boy.
So Brightwing, the spell armor from her Pixie Dust was reduced a little bit. The bonus healing amount was reduced from 8 to 5% on her Emerald Wind, because you got that as kind of a bonus for picking up Emerald Wind. The Phase Shield amount for level 7 was reduced for 400 to 350. So just straight Brightwing nerfs across the board there. Karazim, they're still trying to buff his other two level 1s. So a little extra healing on Transcendence per 3 basic attacks, and a little extra cooldown reduction on Insight. I don't know. People are probably still going to pick the damage because it's double support.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
Morales players, I hope you like that extra health that you got, because a lot of it got reverted. Base max health reduced and health regen reduced in this patch. Her cooldown reduction from the first quest unlocked was reduced from 4 to 3 for her clear level 1. The blast shield at level 4, shield amount reduced from 8 to 6%. And a few, so basically like just a few tweaks to talents, nothing big. The health though is going to actually be something. And this is a trend we're going to see. We saw health reduction on Morales, and then we jump down to Stukov. We also see a health reduction on Stukov.
Health and health regen
Yeah.
in both cases, which to me as a support, the regen's really important too.
Well,
In that they can kind of sustain, heal themselves a little bit anyway, so anything plus that just adds up. Anyway, sorry, Gizmo.
yeah, I have a question about this, because you always see whenever health is getting nerfed, both the max health and the regen. So what it seems like, and after looking at this, it would make sense that the way they do health regen is just if each hero started at 1, no matter what their max health is, they would all get back to max health at the same time. It seems to be that way. I don't know if that is what it is for sure, but I would kind of like to see, and I don't think they've ever done this, like if you're going to nerf the max health why don't we see, like, in order to like meet halfway or something, make their health regen boost it a little bit? So yeah, they're
I don't know.
squishier
It
if you go
seems-
down, but hey, they get their health back a little bit faster. That way they can kind of stay in the area. It
know.
just
I could
seems to be a
be-
1-for-1 thing.
I could be
Right.
completely wrong, but it does seem like there's some sort of formula of
Yeah,
health
that's what I was
regen
gonna
to
say.
max health.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. Because if you look at the Morales 3.34 and 1605, her health dropped to 1550 and 3.23. Stukov's dropped to 1590 and his regen dropped to 3.31.
Yeah. And
And
Nazebo's
that health is a little higher, and that regen is a little higher than the Morales's.
yeah. And Nazebo's a little lower than Morales, and health regen just a little bit lower too. So it seems like I would be
It
correct
seems like
in
there's a
saying,
correlation.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
start at
Formula.
1, every hero is going to get back to full health at the same time. I don't necessarily agree that that is the way it needs to be. If we're talking
agree.
balancing stuff. So
I agree with you there for sure. They could do all kinds of interesting things with it. Now, what we need to do to confirm this is have someone run the numbers on all of the heroes and get that to us by next week. Okay,
I'm sure
sounds
Map
good.
of the Storm has done this.
Probably.
That dude's a numbers whiz. I'll just ask him or something. So not only did Stukov's health get nerfed, though, his healing pathogen heal amount went from 40 to 37. So his base heal over time actually got nerfed as well. They also reverted some of the damage increase basically to his spine launcher level 1 because it went from 50 to 30 in the previous patch, but now it's 30 to 40 again. So they called it in the middle there. They buffed some of the pustule talents a little bit. They reduced the healing on Universal Carrier. And they removed eye infection at level 16, which I believe was the blind. So pretty much for the most part, straight nerfs to Stukov.
yeah.
And straight nerfs to Brightwing. And it's interesting that this is happening. I'm just very curious about the direction Blizzard is trying to go.
And these were notes that came out now and didn't wait for the PTR either. So, like, why were these so immediate? Like, why do we need them now? I don't know. It's all very interesting.
Yeah. Diva, a few changes to her level 1s. Basically, shifting power around a little bit. A few minor buffs, nothing super huge. Garrosh's level 20, this is pretty big. Death Wish is not going to increase the duration of Warlord's Challenge anymore. So you're not going to get extra taunt length at level 20 from him.
What else did
It's
it
not
do?
It either resets or puts taunt down to a 5-second cooldown if you kill somebody under the effect of it, I
Cool.
believe.
All right.
So that's still intact, but I think they figured out. I think they increased his base taunt length not super long ago, and so I guess they decided he didn't need more taunt at level 20 above that just because of how it is. Johanna, as many people found out after her rework, she's a lot squishier than she used to be, and it was really weird for me playing some games with her because with Johanna, it's always just been, I don't do much damage, but boy, can I just survive. Not so much anymore, and Blizzard appears to have agreed because her base max health increased from 2179 to 2350, and health regen to go up along with that. Also, extra slow duration on her falling sword, extra shield amount on her level 1 hold your ground, extra damage for her roar at level 13, and extra damage for her blessed hammer. So basically just straight buffs to JoJo across the board. Several bug fixes, but yeah, pretty big balance patch, honestly.
Yeah, for just a run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-week balance patch that came out today.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely one of the bigger ones, I think. But that's not all.
PTR.
That's not all we got. Yeah, we do have the PTR. Let's take a little break from the numbers, though. Let's talk about
please.
Junkrat a little bit first.
Yeah, let's talk about Junkrat.
So if you guys have not gotten a chance to play him, he is in the PTR now. I was fairly impressed, I think, with how he played. The way we got all our questions answered about, what's his kit going to be. The way they did his Q, I think, is brilliant. It's really well done. So it has a casting range, but then a fixed range for the grenade itself for making it bounce. And it's actually a fairly large area. And it works a lot in the way like Genji's shurikens do. So you have 4 charges. As soon as you cast the first one, a 12-second cooldown starts. And at the end of that 12-second cooldown, you get all 4 charges back. So it's definitely a spamming ability. The way his mine works is really well. I find it a little weird that the D key activates it. That feels a little... I almost wish it was still the W key, but if you wanted to throw a new mine or cancel out the mine, maybe make it hit D or something. I don't know. That took a little bit of getting used to. Yeah.
So that you can throw a new mine even if there's one already on the
ground.
Yeah,
that's the reason. It took a sec to adjust to that.
Yeah. It's not as intuitive. And the Q as well takes a few games to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, it's really nice. And then, of course, his E is the trap. Did I get that right? It's the E is the trap. W is mine.
Steel trap. Mm-hmm.
Steel trap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. His trait, just like in Overwatch, where if he dies, you get the 5 grenades that hop down and blow up after 3/4 of a second, which is really neat and pretty strong against some dive people. So cool there.
Really strong. 250 damage for each. Times 5.
Yeah.
Let's have the same guy that did all that previous math do this math. It's easier this time.
But overall, I think he has some really cool talent choices too. I'm horrible with talent names and stuff, so I don't remember any. But as far as like level 1, his talent where his grenades, once they hit terrain for the first time, their damage is increased by 20%. Is not something that's great on every map, but there are some maps where like that's a really cool map choice tier.
You can play the bouncy game.
Yeah, like it's really great for Dragonshire, Braxis Holdout, where there's those tight corridors where you can bounce. It's amazing, especially when you spam it. His level 16, where you can get the spread on his grenades, is excellent and feels super good.
Fun.
His rocket, the rocket feels amazing. Is a super cool talent. I don't know how I feel about the level 20 talents on both of his ults. Have you seen the videos of people just spamming the rocket like to push on structures?
No. Sounds interesting though. So what do they do?
So from what I believe, I haven't taken the level 20 talent yet, but the level 20 for the rocket resets it or makes it a 30-second cooldown. So people were using it to push structures. Then they would come back 5 seconds later or whatever on the rocket, go back down, and by the time they get back down to the structure, it's almost soft cooldown again, so they can still just continue to use it to push without any deaths.
It seems counterable, though.
Yeah.
And forgive me here, but does it count as a death?
Nope.
No,
it does not. Which is cool, because it
can
can kind of be like an escape thing, too. Yeah. If you're almost about to die in a team fight, you go up and get some damage on. They didn't get the kill.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool uses. I would say... And this is considering some of the heroes that have come out recently. He has one of the most unique kits I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Easy
coming out just from all the cool little things. Because Concussion Mine, not only it's got when you explode it, it has a huge throw radius.
Yes,
it's gigantic. And not only can you throw other people, you can throw yourself too. And so even in the little spotlight video, it showed them as he's running away, throwing it down and using it to jump over massive terrain differences and stuff like that to escape. The steel trap, I just feel like I'm going to feel compelled to go the full steel trap build where you make the steel traps bigger and then make them able to chase people because that is just the coolest thing ever. And it is super freaky to get chased around by one of these little trap things. The Riptire works perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't like it just feels so good. So you start it off, you have to stay safe because you're stuck where he is when it goes off.
Which is true in Overwatch too.
Exactly.
So perfect.
So and there's a key that lets you jump it, which is super awesome. And then it also a detonate key.
Mm-hmm.
So just really, really well done. And there's even displacement when that thing blows up. So he's just all about the displacement.
Yeah, and
Super fun though.
I'll say, and I feel like we say this quite often, like they'll come out with a new Overwatch hero and be like, I feel like they transferred this Overwatch kit over the best that they've done yet. I think this is the best that they've done yet when it comes to Junkrat. He plays, it feels like you would think when he transfers over. I think Tracer's probably the second best.
I think Lucio's second
yeah,
best. But
that's a good
yeah,
point. I just don't play much
I
Lucio.
think they're all more fun in Heroes than they are in
Oh, yeah.
Overwatch.
Fair point. Well, this one is for sure. I mean, Junkrat's my least favorite hero in Overwatch, period. But here in this game, I when I got in and tried it out, and all I had was try mode so far. But even just there, like I could already tell, like this is a character I kind of want to get good at. There's just seems like there's so much you can do. Even just banking the grenades off of terrain seems like the most fun ever. And yeah, like you guys were saying, there's so much talent diversity to explore here. I mean, he's an assassin, true, but it seems like his potential for siege is just nuts. Because he can be so far out of range to get some of these frag grenades off, even just your basic untalented ones. But then you can go even deeper in certain talents to extend that range and all that stuff. So I love that they let him spam. I love that because the question for me with him always was, all right, so if your Q is the grenade, what's your auto attack?
Yeah.
It's just another grenade.
Smaller grenade.
It's a grenade.
Smaller
Like his
grenade,
wave
yeah.
clear is crazy because his auto attacks splash.
Yep.
Range splashing auto attacks.
And then range
really good.
splashing Qs
And
as
then
well.
range
So like
splashing Qs.
the mine technically splashes. I mean, you probably wouldn't use it for wave clear,
Lots of
but-
AoE.
and siege, and he doesn't have mana. You just wait for the cooldowns.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also this was another way of addressing his, like with his Q, the frag launcher. I like that it's the 4 stacks and then it reloads. It's just another way of handling the reload concept,
so
other than like Tracer manually doing so. Anyway, go
yeah,
ahead.
this brings up two topics because we don't need to go too deep on them because we'll of course
No,
go over
no.
more next week and then our hero of the week. But two topics I want to get your guys' opinions on that I've seen floating around Twitter, Reddit, all those things. First one is, of course, the mobility creep. I joked about it a little bit earlier. My personal opinion when it comes to Junkrat is he has a potential to be very mobile. I'm not sure I would factor this in the same as, say, Genji and Tracer when it comes to Overwatch heroes or even Lucio. Did we lose somebody? We lost Multi. It's all right. Just because you are it's a fairly long cooldown, not super long, but you lose the ability, the damaging ability, a displacement for the enemy team, and it's not something that you're just hitting to immediately escape. You have to position it right. You have to detonate it. I don't know. How do you feel about it, TBK?
Yeah, I mean it's very the video even called out he's more chaos. He causes chaos. He causes displacement. He causes massive amounts of AoE. I wouldn't call it mobility creep as much as displacement creep with him, just because everything he does either in some way causes you movement issues of some sort, whether it's a trap on the ground that roots you, whether it's a trap that chases you, whether it's a mine that is throwing you super far, grenades that are bouncing off of things, a tire that's chasing you and then blowing up and then displacing you again. That I would call it displacement creep.
Yeah,
and I don't even know if
fair.
that's a thing. Really?
No,
but I wouldn't call it mobility creep for him specifically.
I
Yeah.
think it is a thing in particular because of Garrosh. I mean, there's another case of, like, we thought it was just insane when his, throwing people over his shoulder became a thing. Now, I mean, this seems like it does maybe not as much range, certainly not as much as the talented range on Garrosh, but a lot of range. And you could affect multiple targets with this if they're clumped up. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you on this displacement creep going on now.
And Soul says it's called CC, but it is. It's a form of CC. It's a subgenre of the CC genre. No, but
Yes.
yeah, in So exactly, because you're wanting to use that mine to displace. If you happen to have it up, yeah, you can use it as an escape, but it's not like you're going to use that to engage, and it's not like you're going to be holding that and saving that to use as an escape like you do with, Genji and Tracer.
Right.
So I'm 100% okay with it, and I think, again, it's brilliant, and it's super fun to blow people into your tower and watch them die. The second opinion here, or question I have for you guys, is the fact that he does not have mana. When it comes to, he's been compared to, his Q to Genji, where Genji does have the mana, but he does have the resets. But then he's also, Tracer doesn't have mana, so he doesn't have mana. Do you think
a lot of Overwatch heroes don't
yes, and it makes him feel very spammable, which is going to be tough, I think, for them to balance. They're going to have to watch when it comes to the damage, especially with the talents you can get with the Q. But do you think that feels all right? Do you think he needs the mana limitation, or is this just something they can balance with damage numbers and potentially, with how his Q cooldown works?
I'll jump in here real quick. I definitely, from a fantasy standpoint, like the fact that he doesn't have mana because, he's more in line with Tracer and some of these others. But I do think it's definitely dangerous, and I hope they really tested his numbers as they are now, because I think back to your example of the talent where you get 20% more after banking it off of terrain, your Qs, that is. I'm thinking about on those maps you were talking about earlier, like the potential for spamming and sieging with this could be just nuts. And I haven't gotten in and had a chance to try it out yet myself, but I'm just hoping Blizzard tried every single little corner of every single map on this guy, because if not, it could be a little overdone. So we'll see.
It makes sense logically. You don't have to use a magical resource to throw down a mine or a trap or shoot a gun. But,
yeah, that too.
No, TBK, what about you?
I think with the way they designed his kit, it actually makes a lot of sense. Because his Q is charge based, right? And so they all refill at the same time. So you have a very specific balancing thing with that, how long it takes for those grenades to come back. And then the player is in charge of, okay, I can spam all 4 and then I have to wait, or I can piece them out and line things up with the actual recharge of the grenades. And then he's got a mine and a trap, and you can only have one of each out. Mm-hmm. Trap right. talents notwithstanding, there's some stuff you can do with talents, like with the traps and whatnot, to get a few more charges. But it's very charge based, so you don't necessarily need mana to control that, because it's not spammable in the way that I can have a bunch of these out in multiple places. You can only have one out at a time doing your stuff. So the way they set his kit up, I think it can make sense, the way that it's charge based and not mana based.
Yeah, and I agree with Soli Lex here, talking about how the damage can be avoided. So his Qs are actually fairly hard to hit. I think he's supposed to kind of be spammy, because you're not expected to hit with every single little thing. With the way that the grenades bounce, and again, the aiming, they're fairly slow. And then the other way I think they controlled it is by making him pretty darn squishy. So one of the advantages, obviously, of not having mana issues is the
very
fact,
squishy.
Yeah, you don't have to go back for mana, so you're able to soak experience, stay in lane, and react to rotations faster. However, he doesn't really have any way of healing. He takes damage really easy, so you're not really having to go back for mana, but you are going to be having to go back for health, which I think is a good way of balancing that. So it'll be interesting to keep our eye on him. If you guys have gotten into check him out, let us know your thoughts on him. And again, we'll be talking about him more in depth here within the next few weeks. But we got a lot of other stuff in the PTR and TBK.
more PTR stuff. Yes, It's crazy. So a few little cool PTR notes before we jump into the balance changes. FYI, for anybody who, for some reason, is still on Windows XP or Vista, they are ending XP and Vista support for Heroes of the Storm. With the Junkrat patch, Heroes of the Storm will no longer run on those 2 operating systems.
Yep, and I know this always affects people negatively, but at the same time, if they stop supporting some of these older systems, maybe that'll just free up some more of their time to work on other things. I'm not sure how it all works in the back
It most
end,
assuredly does. I mean, when you deprecate old OSs, that's less QA you have to do, that's less regression testing you have to do, that's less support staff you have to have. It's just, and it could bring about engine stuff that they couldn't do before because they were supporting some old stuff. That's potentially. True. Potentially performance improvements, who knows. There's also one really cool thing now that you can do. You can actually alt ping and call out level stuff. So you can call out, and the examples, both Karazim notes, both teams are at the same talent tier. Karazim notes, your team has a talent tier advantage. Karazim notes, your team has a heroic talent tier advantage, a storm talent tier advantage, or warns your team has a talent tier disadvantage.
That's this really is all cool. Through just alt pinging?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So these are really new cool. pings. Very, very cool. I will use it a lot.
Yes.
because it's very relevant. And it's super nice now that you can call that out.
I mean,
people don't always think of it either.
Yeah, think about how often people type 10, 10, 10, and
care 10.
Yeah, or care 10, there 10, where 10. Now it's just
yep.
It's much
10
easier.
And then push. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So now you can call that out within game. New battleground rotation is coming. And now let's jump into all the stuff that we didn't talk about before. Cho and Gall, it's just kind of quality of life. It's more apparent when their specific traits are active now. Yay, that's cool. Okay, big ones. We have some reworks. Zul'jin being the first one. And they did a lot of stuff to this guy. His basic attack damage was reduced from 106 to 90. But now he's getting a baseline You Want Axe quest.
Perfect name.
Yeah, for every 5 basic attacks against heroes, it increases your basic attack damage by 1. After 75 basic attacks on enemy heroes, you increase your basic attack range by 1.1. And after 150 basic attacks on enemy heroes, your twin cleave will revolve twice. He gets some changes on his Grievous Throw, some tweaks to the cooldown, mana cost for Grievous Throw, Twin Cleave. His regeneration now restores 30% of his max health instead of 25, and then just a ton of talent changes. So overall, I've gotten to play around with them a little bit, and I want to call out a few of them. There's another talent you can get called Headhunter, which if you kill all unique enemy heroes, each one will increase your damage by 2%. Permanently.
Is that new?
But it's
that's been
new functionality.
Okay, new functionality.
Because Headhunter used to, you killed everybody, then you get a thing to reveal.
Yes, yeah.
All 5 players. But now, each one you kill uniquely, it gives you 2% damage increase, and then if you kill all 5, it increases your basic attack range by 1.1. So if you take this and you finish your You Want Axe baseline quest, that's 2.2 extra basic attack range.
That's big.
Yeah, that's really big. So this is just in general, right? Like you don't have to kill them in any particular sequence, or you just have to have killed.
All 5 of them. Yep. At some point.
That's so cool.
Do we know if when they switched to the new system, I don't even remember if Zul'jin came out before or after that, assist counts as a kill, right? Towards this quest? Yeah.
Yeah. Assist counts as kills.
Doesn't seem like it'll be that hard to do. I mean, other than that, you have to
depends
rotate
on the map.
Lanes differently, and there's going to be
depends on the map. Depends on the enemy team, really.
Spider Queen though, oh man, count me in.
You've got some cool new Recklessness. It was moved from level 7. It's now at level 1. The new functionalities, you gain 10% bonus attack damage while below 75% life, and you gain 20% spell power while below 50% life. So really interesting stuff. New talent at 4, Amani Rage. You activate it to instantly lose 50% of your current health and then regain it over 6 seconds. And then you gain 10 armor while this heal is active. And that sounds really weird until you realize it's Zul'jin. Awesome. And his attack speed increases for his health loss. And so you're instantly giving yourself an attack speed buff while then slowly healing that back up.
And
so,
think about like
really
using
cool
this
stuff.
to kite somebody, pop this, and then pop your ultimate.
Right.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Instant damage.
I
Yeah.
think it's so cool. And it helps with like even just the little things. Like if you're just going back to fend off a boss that's attacking your wall or something like that, you just activate and get free damage on it. So
This is going to be great for all the support players out there who don't read patch notes or really don't stay like up to date on the game, which is fine. But they're already, when they see a Zul'jin, kind of like keeping an eye. Like, I don't want to heal him yet because he gets his attack speed up. So I'm keeping my eye on. Oh, what? Where did his health go? What happened?
yeah, right.
Yep.
They might panic. Yeah, I can see that.
There's a new one at level 16 called No Mercy, and this is pretty insane. Basic attacks against heroes marked with your Grievous Throw, which is your Q, I'm pretty sure. Ignore armor. So
Just
this is one of the
entirely.
first like ignore armor completely, and with armor as like it's just everywhere now. That's a big deal. And so, and there's tons more. Like we're not going to go through all the. It's literally a full Zul'jin rework.
Yes.
What this tells me after trying him out, and Blizzard basically confirmed my theory the other day, is Zul'jin they're positioning him to become another hyper carry, along with the likes of Vala and Greymane.
Which is awesome.
Which is cool.
It's cool that there'll be another choice for that type of hero, right? They're allowing you to get some extra range talents to keep Zul'jin a little safer, but it's going to take some time, some skill to move those things up. There's a lot of different build options now. He's got a lot of really cool talents, so it's cool. Like he just wasn't used that much. His niche was so tiny compared to everything else. I think reworking him in this way especially makes a lot of sense.
I bet Kyle's happy.
But if you, yeah, probably. But yeah, if you don't like quests, too bad.
Right.
We have entered the era, like the last 6 months has just been quests, built-in quests, talent quests. You know, you get a quest, you get a quest, everybody gets a quest. And that's becoming the staple, really, of these reworks. It seems is just quests everywhere.
They are fun, and I mean, we've talked about quests countless times at this point, but they're definitely fun. I like it when there's only one or two to keep track of, though. And it seems like they did an okay job here with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other big one from the PTR is Muradin. And Muradin is not getting near the tweaking that Zul'jin is. And to be honest, I'm not really sure why he's getting tweaked that much. Because I felt he was in a pretty decent spot. But his basic attack damage is getting reduced from 97 to 88. And guess what, guys? He's getting a baseline quest.
What?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I was flabbergasted. So now you hit 25 enemy heroes with Stormbolt. Enemy heroes who die within 2.5 seconds of being hit by Stormbolt will grant 3 stacks. Each regular hit of Stormbolt, of course, grants 1. Once you gain 25 stacks, your basic attacks will reduce the cooldown of Stormbolt by 1 second, and Stormbolt will pierce the first target hit, hitting an additional target. So basically rolling some talents into this baseline quest, which is
Some highly picked talents, too. So,
yeah. So Stormbolt's getting a mana cost reduction, Avatar is getting a mana cost reduction, and Haymaker is getting a mana cost reduction. And then a few talents changed. Some things are getting damage bonus reduced, just a few minor things. Thunderburn, this one's actually kind of big because this is a fairly popular one. It now requires you to hit an enemy hero to create the second Thunderclap.
Interesting.
It won't just do it in lane
Yeah.
if you're in the minions. So that will hurt his wave clear a little bit.
Some, but it was never great to begin with. So yeah, but okay, sure.
But the second Thunderclap now also applies a 25% attack speed slow for 2.5 seconds. So you're not going to see the second one as often because you have to have a hero in it to get it. But it also is going to give a little something extra. They moved a bunch of talents around. Like Give 'em the Axe, they moved from level 16. Heavy Impact, they moved from level 16 to 7. Skullcracker, which was his auto attack speed. It no longer grants auto attack speed. Instead, every third basic attack against an enemy hero now deals 60% bonus damage in addition to the mini stun. So it pretty much reduced the amount of mini stun you'd get because that was really annoying. And it's just a few things. Like it's a few talent changes, shifting of talents around, and then the baseline quest. So it's not quite as crazy as Zul'jin's. He'll play fairly-ish similarly to how he was played before.
Mm-hmm. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which,
it is.
Let's segue into our next little discussion. And normally, so this is coming from my perspective. This is coming from somebody who talks about this game and plays this game a lot on a weekly basis.
And goes over the patch notes every time there is one.
Yeah. And I want to say, you had brought this up to discuss this, and it was just like an instant yes, because I had kind of been feeling it a few patches ago, but this one, these two, the balance patch and PTR patch, was just like dead on.
It hit hard, yeah. And it's
really
just
hard.
It's one of those things where it's like, if I'm feeling this, what must the normal player who does not keep up with all this be feeling? And of course, I'm talking patch fatigue. And I would probably define this as there have been so many changes to the game, or I would define it as a massive amount of changes to the game in a short period of time, where the player then begins to feel overwhelmed and unable to keep up with the changes, or goes into the game and doesn't recognize things that have changed because so much has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
In a short period of time. And so I think the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was this set of patch notes, because we've had two fairly big balance patches recently. Both the Ana patch and the balance patch that came with it were both very large. And then we get this huge balance patch. And then we're going to get Junkrat plus a moderate and a major rework on top of this. On top of a bunch of several Kel'Thuzad patch stuff. 3 major reworks in that.
4.
Yep.
Or was it 3?
Chromie, Morales, Leoric,
Jaina.
And Jaina
Jaina
was 4.
huge. But
Jaina
Not
was
as huge, but it kind of changed how you play or some, so sure.
But then you have the balance on top of that. You have the Ana patch, and then you have a big balance on top of that. Then you have this, and then more reworks and balance on top of that. It's gotten to the point where even I've just started going, hold on, guys. This is starting to get ridiculous. I'm having a hard time, honestly, keeping up with this. And I do content creation for this game.
Content creation in which specifically we go over the patch notes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I'm sure you're segueing into this, but I definitely feel for the people who don't keep up with that at all, because how do they even know? Anyway, go on.
I mean, it's just crazy a little bit because, and we're going to talk about this as we move into the HGC part, the kind of ramifications of this going into BlizzCon, but this seems like the time of year, especially when changes should be limited a little more as we move towards the biggest tournament of the year. But not only that, I can't imagine that over 50% of the player base reads patch notes. Mm-hmm. I'd be really interested to know the number. I don't really know if you can know the number, but I would be surprised if over 50% of players read patch notes. I'm sure there are a decent amount of people who get the patch notes from content like ours. It's just like, okay, I know Lords of the Storm will give me a rundown of what, and we try to cover, the biggest stuff. Yeah, we try to get you the news, but sometimes it's just so much, and it just seems, and I don't want to complain about Blizzard changing the game, because you can tell they're very passionate and they want to get the balance right, and they really want to get things in a good state.
Sure.
But at the same time, it just feels like they're making sweeping big and small changes, but just constantly. And it's not only that, it's that we're getting new heroes on top of that. And so it feels like too much.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
And I really, not that I want to discourage balance patches. I liked the cadence of the balance patch that they were doing. I like the, a balance patch every 2 weeks or so. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But in some ways, maybe the months that your new hero's coming out, because there's usually a new hero every month, maybe make one of those balance patches just the PTR patch as well. And then the balance patch for that fixes a few issues that you were wanting to fix, and then whatever balance changes you needed to from that PTR patch. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? It seems like we're getting almost one above and beyond that to get a lot of these extra things in. And I don't know, we'll talk to you guys about it, but just to me, it feels like we are changing so much that from a player-based perspective, it is hard to keep up. And especially if your main hero, if you had 2 or 3 heroes even affected by this, that can really affect how you're playing the game in Hero League, in Team League. It could cause you to have to learn completely new heroes or switch off. Maybe a rework changes the playstyle completely to where you don't like it.
Yeah, not only that, you're also having to keep track of how to play against these heroes too. So take Thrall, for example. Thrall had a whole huge rework. We went over everything. I'll be honest, I don't play Thrall very often. I couldn't really tell you much about the rework at this point because it's several patches old. But, I know there are a lot of quests that he's trying to keep track of. But if I'm playing against a Thrall, it would be nice if I knew him well enough to where I could sit down and say, oh, well, maybe he's really working on this quest with his wolves, etc. But unless I'm literally tabbing and pulling up the talents he's chosen and reading through them and thinking through oh, what's Thrall up to? I maybe not even am playing against him optimally. So that's just one other thing you have to consider. But no, I am totally with you on this fatigue. I think this is the perfect episode to bring it up in because of, frankly, how long we've spent in this episode talking about patch notes. And honestly, I definitely don't mind talking about them on the show because I think it's always been a service this show has had to the community. Because honestly, I've the couple times I've missed this show, if I missed on a patch week, maybe I hadn't read them over myself yet, and so I'd listen in. And I'm an audio listener guy anyway, so I listen to podcasts all the time. It was honestly kind of cool to get some of the updates there, and I like consuming that sort of thing in audio format. So I'm glad we definitely do that. But this episode in particular, I think it's just because of the length of these notes, it's not for everyone to even keep up on this kind of thing. So A, it's a lot to keep up on. if you're not keeping up, naturally, as you mentioned.
And we've even toned it back some.
We've even toned it back some, but
the detail we go over.
Despite this, there are some people who got into that part of this episode and aren't listening now. They haven't gotten this far because they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many patch notes. They've switched to Angry Chicken or something at this point. But you know what I mean? So I feel people on that fatigue, and it's a concern for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, this is coming from someone who covers them, reads up on them to prepare for the show, goes over them on the show. You know, it's a lot.
So there's a couple things I want to hit on, and I'll probably forget some, but first and foremost, like you said, you know, I love being able to provide this service of going over these notes. I personally, like you said, there's some people who probably turned this episode off after all those patch notes. I don't like doing that, but I do feel like it is important for us to do it because of the state of the game and how many changes that they are making. I feel like, you know, it's stuff that needs to get out there, even though it isn't the most exciting thing. Another thing, I feel this is hitting so hard now, possibly because, you know, at Gamescom, Alan DeBerry himself said, hey, you know, we're going to slow down the release of new content when it comes to heroes, maps, and stuff here a little bit, because we want to focus more on some reworks and stuff like that. And if anything, and again, this is a short time frame, it has sped up at this point. So it's like he gave us like a little tease to where it's like, okay, all right, let's relax here a little bit. And it's like, nope, hold on. It's like one last lap around the track. We are going to slam this pedal on, which I think's made it a little hard. Another thing, the more heroes we get in this game, the harder it is going to be to balance this game. So my fear is that these balance changes are because of the type of game it is and how it's so different from MOBAs. It's going to be harder to balance, and the more heroes you put in, one change on a character is going to affect several characters. So you have to make more changes, which is a little scary. And I really do. I think we want everyone's feedback on kind of how this is affecting them. If you're feeling the fatigue, if listening to a show like ours helps you keep up on it, or if it doesn't really make a difference to you. I'll speak, like I've been playing League casually as of late. I have never once looked at League of Legends patch notes, not once. And it hasn't affected me a whole lot because I don't play that game hardcore. So there may be some of you out there who even listen to podcasts where it doesn't affect you that much. But I feel like in a game like this, it is going to affect like Hero League and stuff, for instance, while League of Legends is more of a solo game than team. I mean, it's obviously still very team involved. But Hero League, for instance, you're working together from the start. When people aren't paying attention, if a hero they like has gotten a big rework, they may catch some of the stuff. But that's a big impact on my Hero League climbing. If I have somebody who isn't able to keep up on this stuff, these big changes, because it changes again a lot.
Good point.
But it is just, it's getting hard. And this one, and I love, you know, diving into this stuff to see how it's going to change. But I almost feel at times, and again, this is with me having less gaming time as of late anyways, that I almost spend more time studying in trying to figure out who I want to take into Hero League because of changes, keeping up on balances, than actually being able to go in and play. Because I want to be on top of everything and be, you know, on top of the changes and take the best heroes I can into it. So it's very,
I would think this would
hard.
matter a lot more especially for people who do competitive. This is a much bigger issue.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we'll get into that here.
your quick match people, I mean, this might not affect you that much. But
still can.
It can, for sure. Especially, like you said, Multi, when you're playing against them and all of a sudden they're doing all these things that it's just like, wait a second, Soul Jin doesn't do that.
Yeah, right. How did his health go straight to half? That was weird.
Yeah, and then come back. What?
And
it's definitely a thing.
And this isn't the word I want to think of. I can't think of it, but this isn't us sitting Blizzard down across the table and going, Blizzard, you need to stop. You need to slow down."
Intervention.
Yeah, intervention. There we go. This isn't a balance intervention. Like I really appreciate that they take this time to balance the game as much as they
it
are.
shows they care.
Absolutely.
It really does.
But it's
But as a player,
it is hard.
it's hard. Yeah. It can be quite tough. And this kind of also leads into something I was talking to Kyle briefly about, based on one of his streams the other day. They're really changing the map rotation around super often too for ranked. And he was telling me, as someone who teaches and stuff, it's started making things really hard for him to show people maps and get them used to things when these maps are constantly switching out too. I kind of was under the impression that when the thing switched around, that we would have like a set ranked rotation for the season.
Sure.
But that's
that
not
kinda threw
how
me
that's not how it's turned out. It's happening, like changing every 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's very inconsistent. And I think we've talked about this some before. I would like to see it honestly make your map rotation match HGC, either per phase or at least maybe for a full season. Say these are the seasons maps.
Mm-hmm.
And then people can actually learn those, and then people like Kyle, like J-Hal, like several people who make video content for stuff can focus down on certain strategies, certain metas for specific maps for a hero season. And that's another thing too, that you can go on about. And it's a MOBA, it's bound to happen. But the more balance changes there are, the harder it is to make content guides and keep them up to date when you're trying to teach people about a specific hero, either whether it be a talent build, whether it be a guide on how to play the hero. It can make that type of thing, it can make it much harder to say, link someone, like someone in our Discord was asking for like a beginner's guide for heroes. And I actually had a little trouble finding one that was up to date.
Yeah,
because of all the changes that are just happening all the time. You're not only looking for a guide, you're looking for one that's actually up to date too. And honestly, and I don't want to harp on this too much because it's just kind of the MOBA thing, but it does feel like Heroes has accelerated that decay more so than probably some other games.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think a vast majority of this has to do with the amount of reworks we're seeing. I think one big rework per balance change or patch is like about what I can handle, honestly. Just to keep up on everything. And yeah, I don't know.
We're going to have had like six or 7 8 of them in like a month and a half.
Yeah, because I think, I think the Heroes team wants every hero to be viable and to, raise pick rates in the HGC, which is absolutely fine. Like, that's great. I think they have a large hero pool that we see in competitive play. Maybe not as large as we've seen in the past. But I also, and this may be unpopular opinion, especially as we're getting to as many heroes as we have, I don't think, all heroes need to be viable at any given time. Like, I think it's cool to...
I think they agree with that.
Yeah, but
they've said
it's getting to where it seems like they're okay with that, but not with what it is currently. So we're trying to get these reworks in to change up some of the older heroes, which again is fine, but it's almost like it's too many at once whenever we can just kind of sprinkle them in here and there. And again, that may be unpopular opinion, but I think that's a big part of making it so hard to keep up on everything.
I think some of this is going to equalize out over time, though, because, they're applying what seems to be a lot of the newer philosophies to some of these talents. I mean, I think about the way that they've changed that anti-magic talent on Nazeebo now. It's now totally new and super interesting, right? Uh-huh. So my thought on this is, once they've kind of cleaned up some of the older heroes, brought them both or just back into line in general, This might slow down a little bit naturally because the newer heroes were designed with a lot of these things in mind.
Potentially, but what if the
potentially.
philosophy
Something new will
changes
come out.
again?
Yeah, because we had armor.
Yeah.
We did this with armor. We added armor in, and then we changed armor to magical and physical armor. And then we started adding in all the quests, or some quest talents, that we wanted to change and make them baseline quests now.
Yeah, and it's in a game that's constantly
ever
evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, the philosophy. I mean, even some of the heroes with the original quest talents are philosophically different than the current stuff coming out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the next thing, we're seeing with cleanse is currently like the new thing going on with it now, like affecting or having different types of cleanse. And shields is going to be a big thing, where we're having more heroes that have shield breakers. We're probably going to get more heroes with shields in, and how those work and interact with each other is going to change things up, and then go back and work on other heroes that have had shields or shield breakers in the past. Yeah. It's just
it's a constantly
right,
evolving game. Yeah, it's a constantly evolving game, and we understand that. But at the same time, you have to find that balance of change to acceptance ratio.
The balance of balancing.
Yeah, I was about to say,
at least currently,
we need balance.
Show title.
We need balance for balancing.
Show title. Balance balancing.
Yeah,
just balance. That's all we want.
Because it's a fine line to walk, honestly, and I think especially recently we've tipped over that line into the not super healthy.
And it's a slippery slope.
So we've got imbalanced balance.
Yeah. Imbalanced balance. Yep.
But again, not to put the mood down on anything, we're super happy with Blizzard and how much care and time they put into this game, and how they want to keep things balanced. So this isn't this isn't
just
a
one of
moment.
those. No, it's not. It's more. It's a constructive criticism. Yeah. Because I can't hate Blizzard or dislike Blizzard for wanting to make the game more awesome, but I can
give
this
kind of
give
work.
them. I can give them feedback of Blizzard. Maybe you can be a slightly less helpful.
How
for
dare
my own
you?
sanity.
How dare you care for the game that I love so much with the attention that you would give a small child as it's going? How dare you?
Slightly less.
We love
maybe
you, Blizzard.
care a little bit more over time.
All right.
Wait a minute. You have to care for small children? God, I'm going to be such a good father.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on into the HGC. All right, TBK. What do we got?
You think we have it bad for changes? Poor pro players. They're the ones that are usually even more greatly affected by large-scale changes than we are, as they're the ones that are playing and mostly meta-defining and trying to figure out where all these heroes will land after changes happen. So there was a little bit of controversy as the other day Blizzard announced that the Junkrat patch would be live for the HGC finals at BlizzCon, and Junkrat would be enabled. This set off a small-scale pro player riot, and mostly in Twitter form, of this is ridiculous. We're getting all these changes. Ana hadn't really even been available yet. We got a bunch of changes in that patch, and now we've got a bunch of changes in this one. Zul'jin and Muradin reworks, and then this whole new hero that won't have time to be balanced if anything is off or crazy, because very, very little changes usually from the PTR from a balance perspective, because you just don't have the data and the matchmaking to really make it accurate, I guess. And so Blizzard stepped in, they listened to the feedback, and so Junkrat will actually be disabled. It will still be the Junkrat patch, but Junkrat will be disabled for the HGC finals, which will disappoint some people. I know from a viewing perspective, some people are just like, oh yeah, that's going to be so cool, because we're going to get a see this new hero and pro play and throw him in. Yes, in some ways that would be kind of cool. I actually do agree with that. But at the other side, this is the biggest tournament of the year. I would rather see practiced and highest level of play rather than some cheese or some OP-ness or some weird strategy or even a forced ban.
That would be awful,
for this
forced ban.
And so that's just not something we want. And so I think this is probably the right decision to made on this issue.
And I've kind of flopped on this issue. I think this year. I think it was last year. Was it? Maybe it was the year before. There was like a new map coming out or something. It might not have been BlizzCon. It was for some big tournament, and people weren't wanting it to playable. And I thought it was fine because my stance on it was, well, all the teams have the same amount of time to practice for it, so it's exciting to see. I think it is a little bit different with heroes, and I'm definitely on the side of caution to where, it would be fun to see. Let's see Junkrat in a show match or something like that instead of the highest level we're supposed to be seeing throughout the year. So they went back and fixed it a little bit by disabling Junkrat. I'm still a little concerned with the other changes that we're seeing in here. I think I would rather see it on the Ana patch, so they have time to practice upon that. Because even with these changes, I think it was Tempest tweeted out that this patch is only going to go live 4 days before they leave to head to BlizzCon. And while, some people could say, well, yeah, but they're leaving, there's still plenty of time to get here and practice and stuff, though. They're going to be dealing with a lot of, jet lag and stuff in order to get over here and prepare to play at the highest level. So that's still not something you want to face. And unless were like some huge changes that needed to go into balance for BlizzCon, which I don't think there was anything like game breaking competitive wise, I would be more comfortable as a professional player playing on the Ana patch. But it is better than having a brand new hero, 2 brand new heroes in big reworks in the game.
Right. Yeah, I think I took the opposite stance last year in saying that, I really wish we'd just have the new hero. But this time, I'm with you guys. It just makes sense to stay consistent, see something practiced, and just see them play at the highest level. So,
at least there was compromise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The jet lag, though, is an interesting point. Maybe this is how we beat Fnatic, guys. Load them up with jet lag.
Yeah.
Throw a bunch of changes at them. Be like, you haven't practiced this, but we have.
Yep,
I'm on to something.
Know. Yeah, you're onto something. And we've already been, and I hate to say this, and hopefully things will change. We've already started seeing some China visa issues pop up again. So I really hope that Blizzard will be able to help these teams work through those, because it's always insanely disappointing whenever the full Chinese team can't come and has to play with subs, or or a different team has to come entirely because too many of one team can't get visas. It's just super sucky for the players, and just honestly, it's a little sucky for the audience too, because we're not seeing the best that the region has to offer. So I'm hoping all that works out, but I'll keep an eye on that over the next few weeks as we get a little closer. The other big thing this weekend, as we lead into the first playoff week before BlizzCon, which is still a little bit away, was the Crucible. And this was a really big deal. And there was actually huge hype for all these. In the end, Europe's Diamond Skin, which is originally the Playing Ducks, and North America's Lag Force successfully defended their spots against Polska Pamięcia. I'm terrible. I'm sorry, you guys.
I struggled on it last night.
I apologize. And Imported Support, respectively. These games, honestly, all the series, and I was able to watch live 3 of the 4 of them this weekend. Honestly, all of them were much more competitive than I expected.
And much more even. They were fun to watch, actually.
They were very fun. in the two that defended, both Diamond Skin and Leg Force ended up going 4-2. So there was definitely some competitiveness in there, and I'm actually happy to see those two teams in particular keep their spots because they were improving, and both those, especially Leg Force, was showing a lot of promise toward the end of Phase 2. So it'll be interesting to see what those guys end up doing. Unfortunately for Even in Death and Team Good Guys, they both lost. Some fairly epic ones as well. I believe that Good Guys and Leftovers went to a 7-game series. It was super close. But Leftovers just barely edged them out. And so they are in now. Really big congratulations for them. And then as most people expected, although not quite the stomping that maybe some people expected, Heroes Hearth proved they had what it takes. What it takes. They proved they had what it takes. And they defeated Even in Death 4-2. And so Heroes Hearth will be competing with HGC along with the rest of the teams for the 2018 season. So huge grats to them.
For sure.
And it's kind of almost a little bit of a redemption story for some of the players on that team, specifically McIntyre and Crowan, who were both in HGC teams before.
Yeah, and
I'll say this about Even in Death, though, real quick, just really quickly here. And it's that, it's kind of easy to look at Even in Death's record and say, oh, well, we expected this, and kind of poo-poo on how their run at the HGC was. And even like how they were brought into the HGC, given the, B-Step dropping out and everything. But I'll be honest, when I watched them play, this is still a really good team. These players are still truly excellent. I mean, they have performed at the HGC level, which, is there a better place to practice? I don't think so. So what I'm saying to you guys is, if any of you happen to hear this, just, stick with it. We don't want any of this to dissuade you. Hop back in the amateur scene. Fight your way back in, by all means. We'd like to have you back. So
yeah. The games were much more competitive than I expected, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was one of those. It was good.
One of those Even in Death wins was on the back of a 5-man mosh. That
gosh,
cleaned them up and
totally. Two 5-man
beautiful.
Moshes. 2 5-man moshes. A different game.
Insane ETC play.
The Batteries ETC was absolutely like top notch. MVP. He was just carrying his team so much from that ETC play. It was incredible.
I think we heard J House scream at that point. I think I heard him scream.
Hey, yeah, it's like Justin said, ETC 5-man moshes, you can carry the game, and that's exactly what happened. That's right. My 2 cents on Heroes Hearth making it back in. I'm again super excited to support those guys again. Just quick recap on what had happened. So Crowan was on Gale Force Esports and was dropped by them after arguably not being put in a role to make him or where he shined. And of course McIntyre was not dropped from his team, but the team disbanded. Or a couple members had decided to disband, so he was forced out of the HGC, unfortunately. So it's really good to see him back in here. He's a really cool guy. And I personally am also excited to see Arthalon back in the hero scene. It was always really fun.
After a large absence.
Yeah, it was always really fun watching him play on Bob Ross and then Cloud9, and took a break for a little bit and has made his way back in. So maybe some Asmodan, Arthalon Asmodan.
Let's hope. Yeah. No, they'll be fun to watch. Yeah. It's going to be a good addition.
All right. And also here, TBK, community content, what do we have?
I have literally the sweetest Nova cosplay you've ever seen in your entire life.
So I follow her on Twitter, and
I do now.
I saw this.
You need to go to the show.
I saw this starting, guys. And I was like, I knew this was going to be one of your content shoutouts at some point, and here it is.
And this is pretty much the full thing. It is a legitimately recreated Nova Master Skin cosplay, and it is incredible. It has like the neon glowing Nova
LEDs.
ponytail
The
LEDs.
LEDs that light up and move in an interesting way. Yeah, it's so cool.
I'm nothing but impressed. Like this is just so freaking good. lordsofthestorm.libsyn.com for the show notes. It'll be linked. Go check it out. And then finally, and we'll be talking about this just constantly
Every week. For
for the next week or two. Calm Before the Storm. And our Heroes panel, it's going to be super fun. I believe it's at 8:30 Pacific.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the podcasting panel, Gizmo will be a part of that. And it is at 7 Pacific, right before the Heroes of the Storm roundtable. It'll be a lot of fun. November 2nd at the Hilton. I think it's the second floor of the Hilton, just right by the convention center. If you're around Thursday night, definitely go check that out.
Absolutely.
One more thing to say about it, though, real quick. Sorry. So they've upgraded too. So now it is also a Hearthstone Fireside Gathering as well. They're going to be doing an official one tied to it.
I am super glad they're doing that. I think we're going to have one at the Well Played party as well.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome.
Well, last year we tried it, and this is on the Hilton internet, and there's a ton of people in there, and no games were played. But
interesting. Well,
the hope, and hopefully they'll be able to do it again. Try and use data, but again, there's a lot of cell phones there. The cool thing about this is even if for some reason no games are able to be played, hopefully it's good enough to where you can at least log in to get the newest Hearthstone character portrait,
hardback,
which
is
it's a warlock.
Nice.
It is
Necrofizzle.
Yeah,
it's a gnome warlock.
Yeah, and it's not an existing character. They created this character for Hearthstone, which is also the first. So
yep,
just got to log into a Fireside Gathering to get that, which is cool.
I'll be tracking one down around here, so look for me there.
And with all the patch notes that came out today, unfortunately, we're going to have to push back some emails to next week. But again, don't forget to shoot us any questions you have, feedback, especially feedback on today's topics, if you guys have anything. But before we go, Multi, why don't you tell people, there we go, where we can be reached?
Well, you can find us. Wow, now I can't talk. It's bleeding off into me.
Tooks?
Oh.
Yep, I don't know.
I need some balance, folks. Okay. So we can be found in-game, certainly by typing /join space LOTS to find some people for some games there. Or we've got our Discord, which is sticky at the top of our Twitter. But now we've got the Battle.net group thing, too. I should probably throw that in here at some point. Check that out. It's somewhere. Where was it again, TBK?
Twitter. Discord.
Discord. Nailed it. We're also on Twitter, by the way, at Lords of the Storm. We're on twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm, which is live Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central, so check us out there. Facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast is another place, and if you want to email us with feedback or questions, if we have time after all the patch notes, we'll go over them. lordsofthestorm@outlook.com, and if you want to help out the show, a couple good ways of doing it. Leaving reviews, positive ones, 5-star iTunes, that sort of thing. That would be great. And then, of course, if you can at all, not required, but we have our Patreon at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where you can give any amount that you deem necessary for what we do here. And the cool thing about our Patreon is, too, guys, I mean, we're not at a point where we do this for a living. It's all just kind of like a side deal. But honestly, for that reason, we get to spend that money on the show in one way or another. So it's, and ketchup packets, obviously, right? But
obviously.
But so that's just it. Whatever you put in there is somehow helping out the show. And we appreciate anyone who ever has and is even thinking about it.
Absolutely. You can also find us individually. You can find myself on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, all those things at GizmoZord, as well as Convert to Raid presents the Battle.net News, which is live Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Central over on twitch.tv/Convert to Raid. Multi, where can you be found?
You can be found on Twitter at Multizord. And I also want to show you guys our other podcast called The Cavalry. It's about Overwatch. It's on Twitter at The Cavalry Show. And Slambo's back. He came back. He had his kid, so congrats to him. He's just a hair ahead of me in this. He's always trying to stay a step ahead of me, I think. But anyway, he's back, and he has likened it to like having a newborn to tanking Corehound packs on the way into Magmadar and Molten Core, and I found that very striking. Very striking.
I like it.
Fair enough.
Yes.
TBK, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and twitch.tv/TBKZord, where I'm usually streaming Heroes at least once or twice a week. So come check that out, give us a follow, and hang out.
Absolutely. Want to give a special thanks to our patron producer Ouroboros Sword for helping support the show. We always appreciate it. And also a special shout out to Matt Villar's new French alter ego, Matthew Villar. We appreciate you and everything you do. We'll see you guys next time, same place, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central. Have a good one.
Bye.
Enough. I shall do no more.
Matthew Villar. Villar.